and welcome into the Kiwi Football Fix for another week. I'm Goran Paladin, and today our Football Fix comes to us from the United States by way of Rotorua and Hamilton in New Zealand. I am, of course, talking about striker, forward, maybe he's a wide man these days, Elliot Collier. Great to have you on the program. Elliot, how are things?
Yeah, great to be here. Things are good, you know. MLS season has started back up. I've actually just been coming off an ankle injury, but I'm good to go this weekend. So it's been a long few weeks, but back in training, back to playing. So things are good.
Brilliant. So confirmation that you will feature up against the New York Red Bulls this weekend.
I hope so.
Yeah, yet to be determined by the head coach. Look, Elliot, I think a lot of people may not be aware of where you've come from to be at the Chicago Fire at this point. We know that you've played a couple of games for the All Whites back in 2019. So I thought, why not let's take a trip down memory lane with you, if that's okay. You grew up in Rotorua. It must have been quite difficult to get game time against decent opposition back in those days. So what was life like for a young Elliot as you were striving for excellence in those days?
Yeah, competition wasn't great back in those days. I was always playing upgrades, and even then, playing upgrades, competition still wasn't great. But there were a handful of us, boys from Rotorua, who decided to travel to Hamilton and to Auckland, 3 to 5 times a week to play, and that's where we found the stronger competition, especially playing in the Auckland leagues. That's where all the strong competition was.
Must have been a heck of an undertaking, Elliot, because when you think about it, you're young, you're probably not driving, so you're asking your parents or your friends' parents to take you these places. They're one hell of a sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't talk enough about, my parents' sacrifice and all my buddies growing up sacrifice. They basically rotated, just took turns whenever they were free. One of the parents would take us up and take us back. And, there were times where, we'd leave straight after school and we're not getting back until, 10, 11 at night. So, it was big efforts from our parents, and also, kind of a lot on us as kids. But that's what we wanted to do, we had to do it.
When it came to your high school education, you opted to go to St Paul's Collegiate in Hamilton. What was the reason behind that? And was somebody like Mike Groom, a former All White, was he a main reason for your attendance there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, at that point, I was traveling, like I said, to Hamilton and Auckland. Basically, at that point, it was every day of the week. And then basically got in contact with St. Paul's and Mike Groom. And, he's a futsal guy. And I loved futsal. I grew up playing futsal. So his kind of way of thinking about football was kind of very similar to mine. So we kind of just clicked there on that, and it just all made sense.
So growing up playing not only football but futsal, playing for the Futsal Whites, was that something that was on your radar from a very early age? Because you sort of ticked that box quite early in your football career.
I did start with the Futsal Whites early on. I was 16 or 17. So yeah, it was kind of just it was an opportunity to, we played Australia, we played Tahiti, and I mean, that trip to Tahiti was unreal.
Well, what was so unreal about it?
We're playing in this cramped gym, concrete floor with, I have no idea how many people. It could have been 3,000, it could have been 10,000 people. I have no idea. It was packed to the brim. I couldn't hear a thing. I was sweating so much that the sweat came through the bottom of my shoes, and I couldn't run on the court anymore. Every time I went to take a step, I slipped.
What?
So I just couldn't play. But when it came into the second half, I just couldn't play. Yeah, it was unreal.
It couldn't have been like that for everybody, could it? Because otherwise, nobody's scoring any goals.
I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. I don't know how they dealt with it. Maybe I'm just a heavy sweater. Well, I definitely am a heavy sweater, but.
Yeah, if anybody wants to sponsor him, maybe we could get like one of those Rexona antiperspirant deals going for you. Just smear it all over your body.
Yeah, something like that. I'll put it on my feet as well.
You went on trial to West Bromwich Albion as, I think, a 15-year-old. And I've read literature about your experience, and it wasn't great, but at the same time, you learnt so much about what it took to be a professional footballer. Are you able to just relive that experience for us today on the Kiwi Football Fix?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, that was a huge opportunity for me as a young Kiwi footballer going over to West Brom. I thought this was big. I wasn't at the time. I hadn't grown. I wasn't physically mature, and definitely not mentally mature. I got in there. I got beaten up. I'm coming in there to steal their jobs, and you're not going to look too nicely on someone who's coming to steal your job. So, I got pushed around, mentally beaten up, physically beaten up, and it didn't go great. But I learned so much that was the level that I had to get if I still wanted to do that, And I remember, I was on the phone to my dad, my mom, being like, I don't want to play football anymore. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make it. All that kind of stuff. So I go back to New Zealand, and then a week or two passes by, and I'm like, wait, that's stupid. No, of course I'm not stopping playing football. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So I just basically got back into it, and had a conversation with my parents. What do we do now? What's the next step? Because obviously I still wanted to go pro, just because I'd had a bad experience. I learned a lot from it. So we decided to go with the US university pathway. And that's what led me to Ole.
Right, yeah. So let's talk about that, because Ole Football Academy with Declan Edge in charge, he's one of the real mavericks of footballing, coaching, and tactically he's brilliant. What was that whole experience like? And do you highly recommend it for other footballers, young footballers in New Zealand coming through?
Yeah, if there's one thing you could take away from this interview, is if you're serious about your football and you're a Kiwi, then you got to find your way to Ole. I can't talk highly enough about my experiences with Declan and my experiences with Ole. I feel like I actually learned the game of football at Ole. Before then, I kind of just, got the ball and dribbled with it as far as I could and tried to score as many goals as I could. But no, I learned how to play. I learned how to be part of a team. I learned how to, defend and keep the ball, and it was brilliant. And not only that, within 2 months of being there, they had a full scholarship lined up to me for a US college. So that was pretty nice.
All right. So from there, Elliot, you managed to get into the States and you head to Chicago, and you've basically made Chicago your home since what, about 2014? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. I've been here since 2014. This is my home away from home, I like to call it. Nothing compares to home. Nothing compares to New Zealand, but they've taken good care of me over here in Chicago. Good
to hear. And so you went through the university system there, had great success, and then you make the step up to the MLS. And tell us about the 2018 draft, where you were picked up 49th, but that still didn't guarantee a contract with the Chicago Fire.
Yeah, so basically I remember waking up that morning of the draft, and I'd heard from my college coach, Neil Jones at Loyola. He was batting for me, to talking to all these clubs, trying to get me drafted, and I can't thank him enough, or Loyola, for everything they did for me. But yeah, I woke up that morning and my phone was just blowing up, and I had no idea what was going on. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, have you seen the draft?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" Like, "You got drafted by Chicago Fire." And I was like, "Oh wow." About 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from the manager. We want you in preseason in 2 days. So I was like, okay, well, this is this is everything I wanted. At that point, I had no idea where I was going to be. I'd been to a couple combines, and was trying to figure it out over here, but didn't know if I could be back to New Zealand. I could have to go to Europe. Didn't know what was going to happen. But first step, I got invited to preseason, and yeah, for those of you that don't know how the draft works, it's not you get drafted, you get a contract. That's not how it works in MLS. Basically, the draft is an invite to preseason, and then you get 6 weeks to prove yourself to the coaches that you deserve the contract. So I thought, well, I obviously did well enough to get a contract from them, and I think it was about week 5 after a game we played. I played well. think I scored a goal and had an assist or something. And, the head coach comes up to me and was like, I'm going to tell you now, but the general manager is going to come talk to you about us signing you. So congratulations. I mean, that was just a moment I'll never forget, that getting my first professional contract, that's a dream come true.
So all of a sudden, you're an MLS footballer with the Chicago Fire, and you're playing in the same team as Bastian Schweinsteiger. What on earth is happening there?
Yeah.
And how are you feeling about this? Because this is a guy who's a genuine superstar of world football, and you're sharing a locker room with him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of him as a person and a player. He was fantastic. I remember going in the first day and I look over, I'm sitting down in my locker and I look over, I'm like, whoa. His locker was right opposite. His locker was right opposite mine. And I was looking, I was like, whoa, that's him. Like, he's there. So, but I was just kind of like blown away, He's probably my dad's favorite player other than me. So
you're at the top, and then it's Bastian.
Then it's him. Yeah, but not only that, like, he was a fantastic player to play with. Great guy on the field. As I was a rookie, he would always, pick me to, if he needed a partner for anything, he'd always come over and pick me to, do passing with or do stuff with, and it was fantastic to see that from a guy who doesn't need to do that. He's won everything. He's been everywhere, and he doesn't need to be a nice guy, but he is. So it was fantastic.
Well, that's one person who you played with. What about playing against? Because the MLS does a pretty good job of attracting some big name footballers. I remember reading that you were standing in a tunnel alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and that's a name that everybody knows. And he even dwarfed you.
Yeah. So I remember that game. We were playing LA Galaxy at home. There were probably 5% of the stadium was filled with Chicago Fire fans, and the 95% was LA Galaxy fans, all wearing Zlatan Ibrahimovic shirts. So they basically all came out to see Zlatan. So it wasn't a home game for us. It was basically like we're playing away. And I remember there was a corner where I was marking Zlatan, and I just remember looking up at him, and I was like, "Oh boy, you're a big boy." And he said something to me. And it caught me off guard, and I looked at him, and then I looked away, and he was gone. And he got in front of me and got his head on the ball. So I don't know if he was playing mind games. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he definitely got me with that.
Hey, look, so your first couple of years with Chicago Fire, you obviously got some game time in the MLS, but there were also a couple of loan deals. You were out with Indy 11, you were out with, is it Memphis 901 or 901? I'm not sure how the Americans say it.
Yeah, 901.
Yeah, so you were so close to cementing a permanent MLS gig, but the club felt that it was necessary to get you those loan deals. What did you learn about yourself and the game in America through those experiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's always loan deals and that kind of stuff is always how you look at it. If you look at it and you're pissed off about it because you're not where you want to be, kind of thing, then you're not going to have a good experience. You're not going to learn anything going on loan. But I just saw the loan deals as an opportunity for me to get game time still at a professional level. Obviously, USL is not MLS, but it's still professional level. So I just did what I could with the time that I was given. I think in my Memphis loan spell, I think I played 26 of 32 games or something. I had an ankle injury in there as well. So, I got a lot of game time and a lot of experience, and just continued to try and get better every day, just keep that mindset of getting better every day, even if I'm not where I want to be, because the whole goal is I want to get back there. So I got to prove that I'm good enough to be back there.
Yeah, and prove it you did. You picked up your first career hat-trick with Memphis, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I remember that game. I scored 2 goals very early on in the first half, and then the second half is rolling on, and obviously in my mind, I'm like, I want to score my 3rd goal. I want to get this hat trick. My coach tells me, you're coming out in 5. Like, we're winning this game comfortably. You're going to come out in 5. Just take a rest. I was like, okay. As soon as he said that, we had a throw in. Our left back throws me the ball. I turned a guy off the throw in, and there was just so much space in front of me. I was like, this is it. I'm going. And I just took off and dribbled every person I saw, and was lucky enough to put it away.
Yeah.
And then I was like, coach, take me out. I'm done.
So I've seen the goal. It really is an incredible piece of work. It's so good. Like it's like you're in God mode or something, and no one can touch you.
Yeah, they tried. No, I actually cramped up during the celebration.
Oh, no.
I went to celebrate, and I think both my calves went, and I just fell over.
See, that's that heavy sweating that we were talking about earlier in Tahiti coming back to bite you.
Yeah.
You need to get your fluids and your electrolytes up, mate.
Yeah, no, that's what we've been working on, is just constantly drinking, constantly filling myself with electrolytes. But I haven't been cramping, I haven't been cramping since I've started doing that, so it must be helping.
Good man. 2019 was actually a pretty big year for you. Not only were you performing with Memphis, but at the end of the year, Danny Hay comes calling, and all of a sudden, he's handing you an all-whites debut in matches against the Republic of Ireland, and Lithuania was the other one. Did you have any inkling that you were on Danny's radar for potential all-white selection at that time?
Yeah, I knew I was on the radar. I was on the radar, previously from Danny as well. So I knew that there was a chance. But he reached out to me and was like, I want to give you a call, basically, to talk about this upcoming window. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now this is getting real. This is going beyond the radar. So he calls me up and he was like, yeah. Basically, I was finished my season at that point with Memphis, and the camp was still a month and a half away. So he was basically like, do you think you'll be ready if I bring you in November? And I was like, yep, I'll be training the whole time to prepare for this. So he's like, all right, if you think you're ready, I want to bring you in, and we'll see where we go from there. And that was just, that was a phone call I won't forget as well. That was my other dream growing up, to be an all-white, play for New Zealand, and I was just been told I've been given this opportunity. So I have a bit of a funny story for that game against Ireland. So I was in the locker room, and Stefan Marinovic comes up to me and is like, hey, I forgot my shin pads. Can I borrow yours? And I was like, oh man, really? Like, what if I get subbed in and I need my shin guards? He's like, no. I talked to the coach, like, you're starting next game, but you're not playing this game. So I was like, okay, fine, take my shin guards. Reluctantly give him my shin guards. About the 78th, 80th minute rolls up. Danny's like, Elliot, go warm up. I'm like, oh shit. I don't have shin guards. What am I going to do? So I go warm up and I come back, and Chris would have just come off, and Danny's telling me to come up to, get subbed in. And I'm looking around for shin guards. I see Chris has got his socks out. I'm like, Chris, can I have your shin guards? He hands me them quickly. I run up to Danny. I start putting in my shin guards, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, how unprofessional is this? You don't even have your shin guards on.
Oh, no.
So he's giving me it because I don't have my shin guards on. I'm not ready to go. And then I go on and I play, and we laughed about it afterwards because Stefan went and told him, that he borrowed mine, and Danny was great about it. He was funny. He was like, you must have already been nervous going on for your debut, and there I am yelling at you.
Yeah. Look, it must be a really unique scenario for you, because you get those opportunities and you think, well, in the coming years we've got World Cup qualifiers to play, World Cup's coming up in 2022, and then all of a sudden the arse drops out in 2020 with the global pandemic that we know of COVID-19. So I'm really interested to hear from you, Elliot, how that all played out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bummer for all of us. We had a pretty jam-packed international schedule for 2020. We were going to get a lot of games, which obviously we need as a team and as a nation. So yeah, it was kind of a bit of a bummer that we weren't going to be able to get these games in. But as you do, you can't do anything about it. So you just look forward to the next opportunity and the next opportunity.
As for the MLS, that didn't stop, did it? I mean, you played a number of games through the global pandemic. What was that like?
Yeah, so we had about the first 3 months of when COVID really hit. We had those 3 months where there was nothing. Like I said, I was running outside of my apartment, up and down the street. And then after that, they came to this, MLS is back tournament idea where they have a bubble in Orlando. So there were a lot of people that didn't look too favorably on it. And understandably, with a lot of people with children, with pregnant wives, with all that kind of stuff, having to be away from your family in a pandemic wasn't great. But for me personally, it was great to be back training, great to be back playing. It's just an opportunity to get more minutes, an opportunity to play more games, keep getting better. So I thought it was a great idea. They had all their MLS had all their precautions, and everyone's wearing masks and they're sanitizing everything, and social distancing, that kind of stuff. But we were the only ones. The teams were the only ones at the resort. So it was kind of, as long as it wasn't an outbreak within your team, which happened to some teams, you're kind of safe. You're pretty safe. And we, as the Chicago Fire, we took it very seriously, all the precautions and everything, and we were very good about everything. So I felt safe. I was just happy to be back playing.
And what about now? Because throughout the States, the vaccine rollout is underway, and I think maybe some of your teammates, or maybe you yourself, you've already received the vaccine. Have you had the jab yet?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So on our home opener, after that game that night, we got the first jab. So we're getting the second jab in 2 weeks, I think, something like that. So yeah, we've started. All the teams are at least having the opportunity to get the vaccine, and also you can sign up to get it on your own, which a lot of people are doing as well.
Good to hear. So when it comes to your involvement with the team, I know that you featured for them a number of times through the COVID-affected season last year, but a lot of those appearances were off the bench. What are you continuing to work on to try and impress upon the coaches and the selectors that you need to be utilised from the start? How do you get into that starting 11?
I mean, yeah, for sure. That's what I want. Every player wants to start, and that's a big goal of mine this year, is to start a lot more matches and score some goals and provide some assists. I just got to keep doing what I can in training, keep getting better every day, and bringing that, no training off kind of thing. Got to continue to improve every day. And the coaches we've had conversations, and the coaches have had conversations with basically every player on the team of certain aspects that they want to improve their game, and I'm just going to keep continuing to work on those areas and keep trying to impress and prove that I should be starting and will be starting, kind of thing.
Elliot, when I type in Chicago Fire into my Google search engine, it comes up with a couple of options. There's the football team that you belong to, and then there's also the television show. When people come up to you and they ask, "Oh, Elliot, what do you do?" and you say that you're with Chicago Fire, do they say they love that show?
A lot of the times they either say, "Yeah, I love that show." Oh, is that the fire department? And then you get the fans who are like, "Yeah, we love Chicago Fire," because we do have some good fans and good support here. But yeah, a lot of the times they think that we're either a fire department or the show.
Or some kind of actor, yeah. So has there ever been a crossover between the Chicago Fire football team and Chicago Fire show? Like I was thinking about it before we jumped on this call. Like there could be maybe a fire breakout at the stadium, and the Chicago Fire TV crew have to come in and they put out the fire to save the fire. I mean, I don't know if you want to put that to the script writers or not, but it's an idea.
Maybe you should. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should email them right now with that script idea. I think that'd be a hit.
I think it comes with greater gravitas if it comes from somebody in Chicago playing for the Fire.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I should get on that.
Yeah, you definitely should. Look, mate, it's been fantastic sitting down and chatting with you on the Kiwi Football Fix. Good luck with that ankle injury. I hope you're selected this weekend and you take to the field for the first time this year against the Red Bulls. Thanks for your time, mate, and go well over there in the MLS.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was great to be here.
And we are out of time here on the Kiwi Football Fix. Just enough time to say the Wellington Phoenix back in action on Saturday at 7 p.m. They're up against the Brisbane Roar, currently sitting in 8th spot, but pushing hard for a playoff spot. All right, that's it from us here at the Kiwi Football Fix. On behalf of myself, Henry Rounce, Tia Manuel, catch you next time.